Savannah here. So as you may have seen in the thumbnail, we are going to learn how to create a couple of plants that you see in Hogwarts because my son recently requested a Harry Potter birthday party and I have so many ideas that I want to do for decorations, but I do not want to spend a lot of money. So I have been creating a lot of crafts on my own to try to save as much money as possible. So today I wanted to show you two of the things that we're going to be making and you may be familiar with. The first one is the Mimbulus Mimbletonia. And as you may know, this is the plant that Neville brought to Hogwarts. And we also have our Mandrake. And this one may be a little bit more popular, a little bit more well known than the other, and he is a lot of fun to make. So the nice thing about these plants here is that they were created with household items. I didn't use any clay, I didn't use any paper mache, so it didn't take any drying time. I was able to get him put together and painted right away, and so they were cheap, they were easy, and they were fast. So I want to show you how to do this. Let's get started.
Okay, so you're going to need some tin foil, some newspaper, and you're also going to need some craft paint. These are just different colors that I used for the painting of the plants. Also glue sticks, a glue gun, some different size paintbrushes, little leaves that we'll use for the mandrake, craft wire also for the mandrake, and some painter's tape. We also are going to need some pots to put our plants into, and these are just IKEA pots. I went ahead and distressed the pot and put the label on already. We are going to need some newspaper, a large piece will do for the body. We're going to roll it up, and then we're going to get a smaller piece for the head and also ball that up. Then we're going to take those and wrap that up in tinfoil and just smooth it out, make it a nice shaped ball, and do that for both the head and the body. And then once we have both of those made, we're going to get another sheet of tinfoil and we're going to place them both inside and just wrap the tinfoil around those two balls, making sure that we leave an indentation around the neck so we can see the difference between the head and the body. Now we're going to take another piece of tinfoil, a smaller piece. We're just going to wrap it up around him and we're going to take it over his head and twist the tinfoil together to make sort of, they look kind of like alien antennas, but they're going to be where the branches are coming off, where the leaves are going to attach. And we're going to do that again for his arms and his legs. So we're just basically going to twist the tinfoil around where we want his leg and arms to be. And then any excess tinfoil, we're going to just wrap around the body. Now, I didn't do this, but it might be easier actually to make the tinfoil a long enough piece so that when you do wrap it around, you can twist the tinfoil together because otherwise it's not on as securely as it could be. So you go ahead and do that for all of his limbs. Just twist them around and bend them, make them as nice or as neat as you want them to be. You might have to take the tinfoil off like I had to here and readjust it if it just didn't go on the way you wanted it, which is no big deal. It still doesn't take a very long time. Okay, so here he is. He has all of his legs and his antennas on. He's wrapped up. So all we're going to do now is take some painter's tape or masking tape. Now, really, I would recommend a different color tape. This blue is not necessarily the best color because it can show through, but it's all that I had, so it's what I use. So you just wrap him around. Make sure you tape the tape to itself because it doesn't stick as well to the tinfoil as you would want it to. But some of the details that we're going to add are going to be done with a glue stick. So we just basically glue his face on. I gave him some eyes that kind of slanted upward to make him look a little angry. I gave him a big frown face and some of the eyebrows that go down to give him a little bit of that angry crying look. Now what I'm doing here is in the spots where the tape kind of lifts up a little bit, since it is painter's tape, it's not the stickiest, I just went over those areas and made sure that I glued anything down that wasn't really sticking to itself. So I'm just putting that on his body just for texture as well, since he is an organic plant. I'm here going to add that craft wire and just wrap it around his little antenna branches, and gonna secure it as well with hot glue just to make sure that it doesn't come off in when you're pulling him out of the pot. And we're just gonna paint him like a dark brown color as his base color. It's just a simple craft acrylic paint that I got from Walmart. It was about, I believe, 50 cents a bottle, and I have it at the house, you know. So you just paint his entire body, just giving that base layer. And then if you are using a non-natural color, just make sure you're getting in all the cracks and crevices so that all the blue is getting covered. And then after you have him dry, go ahead and go back over him again with a black craft paint. And I just did like a dry brushing technique over his body. And this is just to give him a little bit of depth and dimension to make him look real. Any areas that you would think there would be more shadows, you can add a little extra black. And then just go over his eyes and his facial features with like a smaller brush. Make sure you highlight in detail the little face that you used your glue gun for to create for him. That way it stands out and you can kind of see his little human-like features. Then after that, all I did was took like a beige brown color and I went over him again in a dry brushing technique, again just to give him more depth and more color to give him that realistic look. So I just went over his entire body, his face and his branches to give him that nice look. After that, you simply just take your leaves and glue them onto the wire. Just place them anywhere you think looks good. Now my leaves are more of a fall style leaf and not necessarily the kind of leaves they had in the movie, but I got them on clearance for 10 cents for a pack and they work perfectly. I think it's kind of cute. It gives them a little bit of a difference. And here he is looking all cute. I want to test him in the pot to make sure that he fits, and then I'm going to place a little piece of cardboard around the edge so that I don't have to fill up his whole pot with any kind of moss or pretend dirt or anything, and that way I can also pull him in, put him in and take him out easier. Now I didn't realize that I was putting his little cardboard piece on sideways, so he'd be facing the wrong way from where I have his label. But I discovered that later and went ahead and fixed it. But right now I'm just painting that little cardboard piece brown so that if anything sticks through, it still looks like dirt and it doesn't look like a big white piece. And I did forget to mention some materials that we need for him. And this is, I'm not sure what it is, but it's kind of like that straw or hay that you would expect in a scarecrow. I also got this just on sale at the craft store, so I grabbed it and it ended up working out really well to attach to his feet and his arms, kind of to give it that look of having roots. So I went ahead and hot glued it onto him, and then I went over it where the hot glue was with some brown paint just to kind of blend it in and not have it be so obvious. The hands, I used a little bit of a smaller hay so they look like, the smaller roots you would see in an actual plant. So this is when I discovered I had him facing the wrong way. So I went ahead and added that other piece of cardboard, painted it, and I am going to just go ahead and get some uh, of this. Now this is like a lichen, I think. I don't know. You could use the Spanish moss. You can really use anything that you want. You could even just put some fake dirt, like if you wanted to use coffee grounds and make it look like dirt or something like that. You could do that as well. This is just what I decided to go ahead and do. I just went all the way around the pot to make it look like he's sitting in an actual pot that's not like empty, and here he is. He's potted and he's happy. Okay, so we're going to go on to the Mimbulus Mimbletonia, and basically we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to make balls of newspaper and wrap it in the tin foil, and we're just going to make lots of little different sizes. So we have some bigger balls, some medium-sized balls, some smaller balls, And the ones that are the smallest size ball, I didn't even bother to use the newspaper. I just used a tin foil and just made different sizes that way. So after I have a couple of balls, I'm just going to put them in the pot and hot glue them to each other. So usually the bigger balls are going to go on the bottom. And after I have them hot glued, I'm going to hot glue them to the side of the pot as well so that it doesn't move around. And when I'm happy with those where those are at, I just added some newspaper in underneath those balls to fill in any gaps or anything that um, needs to be filled in so that when I do my hot glue around that area, I can fill it in without using an excessive amount of hot glue. This is just going to be painted later, so it looks like dirt. So I'm not really worried about that. Once I have all of my hot glue around the edge, I'm going to continue to create more balls and I'm going to add those to my existing balls within the pot. I'm just going to make different sizes, like I said. I'm going to measure it out, see what looks good, and go ahead and start gluing them on wherever it makes sense. So they're going to be different sizes. You don't want anything to be too uniform because, like, this is an organic magical plant, so you want it to look kind of funky. But after you glue it down with the initial spot, you also are going to want to go around the edge and reinforce the balls. So you don't want it just sitting on there. You're going to go and take the hot glue, make sure it goes all the way around the edge, get it a nice and adhered very well so that it's sturdy. That way, if you were to mess with it or move it around, especially for a kid's party, if they wanted to look at it, you don't have to worry about it falling apart. And I just used a reference for this. I just found an image of a Mimbulus Mimbletonia online and checked it and just try to make mine look a lot like what that was. So here it is. This is what it's all put together and it's getting ready to be painted. But before we do paint it, I went ahead and took my hot glue gun and added just little dots onto it all around. Those are the little, I guess it would be like the pokey parts of the cactus thing, and later on we'll paint that. So I went ahead and got it's called a kiwi color green for the base of the color of the plant. It's like I thought it had a magical color to it. So I went ahead and just painted the entire plant in that color. And I don't have it on here, but I did go around the edge where the hot glue was and painted that in a darker brown. After that, when it was dry, I went ahead and mixed the original color with a darker green and just went around in the crevices and the cracks and the places where you would expect shadows to be. And I just did this to give it a little bit more depth to make it look more real. You know, most plants are not just one solid green color. They have different variations in the colors. So I went ahead and did the shadows, and I also did a little bit of the mid tones. So I mixed the darker color with more of the lighter color greens and just went around it, kind of blended it out. Now here's where I'm going to start doing those little dots that I did on the plant with the glue gun. I just took a red and mixed it with a brown so it wasn't too bright of a color and went ahead and just colored in all the places where those little glue gun marks were and went around the entire cactus, just taking my time doing that. Once I had all of those painted and they were all dry, I just took a regular old yellow color and put a little simple dot on it. I think it kind of gave it a little bit more of a gruesome look. They kind of look a little like, I don't know, acne. So here it is, and this is our Mimbulus Mimbletonia. So you may see that I have the wrong label on it, but just ignore that. I'll fix it later.